If you want to shift your life, you gotta have boundaries and principles that you stand on, and you can't be moved.
Right.
Everything else has to bend around those principles.
Right.
You know what I mean? And now, you know what I mean? As I'm still climbing, you know what I mean? I know that these things work. So I can tell my students, nah, you know what I mean? You gotta believe in yourself. You know what I mean? You gotta start the thing. And you also gotta set a line that a certain person can't cross.
So welcome to another episode of The Shift with Ben Brown. Before I just want to talk about my guest before I fully introduce him. This is a very exciting episode for me because it is my first time talking to an actual movie star on an episode of The Shift. Not only is he a movie star, he is a brother, a dear friend, a mentor, someone who I have looked up to for quite some time, has taught me so much and continues to teach me so much in almost just in the way he moves, and I get to watch him and kind of know his moves, and it just helps me. He's just a model. He's a great, incredible man. I cannot say enough about him. He's an incredible father. He's an incredible husband, and I am thrilled to introduce Will Catlett. Ladies and gentlemen. Bro, I am so happy you're here.
I'm glad to be here, brother. Straight off the plane.
Straight off the plane.
Yeah.
We're shooting a movie tomorrow.
Yeah.
I got a new hair color. Did you notice?
Yeah. I see you.
I would love to jump in with some questions that I have for you, just because you truly are probably the most confident person I know. You wear your confidence in a very quiet, understated way. It's to me, as I've become more confident in my life, I've come to see your confidence, your brand of confidence, to me as what I think of true confidence. I used to think I was confident before, when I was out there in the streets, hollering at all these girls and had women and these things. And I would have and I'd be the guy at the table telling all the stories and with all the charisma. And I thought my confidence came from this persona that I was kind of putting on, and these things that I maybe had, right? Like if I was standing next to a beautiful woman, or I was wearing a fly outfit, or whatever. And since I've gotten sober, developed a relationship with God, started to release these old versions of self little by little. It doesn't happen overnight. I now see you, and I watched the way. I even remember a time that you and I were having dinner, and kind of the same way you're looking at me right now, just quiet and still. And I was talking about something, and you and I don't see each other that often. You live in LA, I live in New York. And I realized that there was a moment in the dinner where I was thinking to myself, as I often can be sometimes in one-on-one situations, I'm afraid of an awkward moment between Will and I. I'm worried that if all of a sudden it's silent and there's no talking, that it's going to be weird. We're going to feel like, oh, no one knows what to say. And there's this thing that I have in my mind that it's my responsibility to keep the flow going at the table. And I remember this moment so vividly. Look, we were sitting in Teresi, and I was looking across from you, and I was like, Will ain't thinking that at all. Like, Will is cool sitting here chilling. If we talk about something, we talk about something. If there's a period of silence, there's a period of silence. Like, you weren't tripping on any of that. And we didn't even ever have a conversation about it at that dinner, because I think I was probably, it felt too vulnerable to me to say that to you, like right then and there at the table. I want to ask you, where does that come from?
I think confidence grows in stages. A lot of people tell me that all the time, and you're so confident, you're so confident. But I think growing up, I didn't feel as confident in the things that I wanted to do. An example would be ball.
Okay.
Playing basketball. You know what I mean? Because I had to work at it. It wasn't something that came naturally. But I was always popular. You know what I mean? Like, I was always the most liked in the neighborhood and the most known.
Okay.
I just didn't find what my thing was yet, because when you grow up in the inner city, You either shoot a wicked jump shot or you catch a touchdown. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like nobody's saying you can play lacrosse, you can go swimming, you can play hockey, you can hunt. You know what I mean? That's just not the topic of conversation.
Right.
But I think where confidence is born, especially for me, is when the person stops people pleasing. I remember a buddy of mine named Ice, and we were sitting in the Whole Foods downtown Los Angeles.
Okay.
And Ice come from the streets, you know what I mean? But super intelligent
With a
guy.
name like Ice.
Yeah. From New York.
Okay.
Could hoop.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And he
yeah.
was just like, bruh, I see where you going. You know, I went to school with the Kardashians and all of them. But you too fucking nice. You see, niggas don't buy bouquets. They buy roses. And roses have thorns. And they need to know that they can't grab you any kind of way unless they're going to get poked by the thorn. And it shifted my life.
Really?
It shifted my life because I understood what he meant, because I was so used to being liked that I would not tell you that I don't like something because I want you to like me. So then when he told me that, it just did a completely 180 shift in my life. It's like, you know what? Nah, if I'm going to be me and I'm going to grow thorns, then I got to just say how I feel. You know what I mean? And so that's why I say confidence grows in stages, because when you get rid of people pleasing, then your confidence can now be born. You know what I mean? And then I follow my instincts. You know, I come in, I sit down, I'm looking at the camera and I'm like, yeah, the white socks don't really hit with the shoes and the camera. Yeah, I'll probably just take my shoes off. I'm cool with that because I like me. You know what I mean? That's another stage of confidence. Do you like you? And a lot of times people can't sit in the silence because they haven't sat with themselves long enough to like them. You know what I mean? That's very important, especially in art and the things that we do.
Yeah.
You know, even on this podcast, you're talking about shifting somebody into their next direction of where they want to go.
Yeah.
Do you like you? Are you comfortable with you? Or are you still hiding? You know, these are the questions that one has to ask themselves. And I ask those questions to myself all the time.
So when you talk about the thorns, when he said that to you, what did the thorn represent to you? How did you hear that statement and translate it? Like, what behaviors did you have in that moment that when he said that, you were like, I need to change. I need to stop doing this. What was the thing that you realized you were actually doing that needed to change?
I think was just, you know, taking charge of my career.
How old were you when you had this conversation?
I don't really know exactly how old I was, but this had to have been somewhere around between 2014 and 2016.
Okay.
It was two things in that conversation. You're too fucking nice. That shifted me because it's something about when another man checks another man.
Right.
And I knew it was coming from an honest place.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It wasn't like he was trying to put me down.
Right.
You know what I mean? He was
Right.
trying to shift me to, I hate to keep using shift, but he was trying to shift me to another place within myself. Now, growing the thorns, you know, that comes over time. You know, it's like,
Because as a thorn, it's like one could hear that and be like, so what, you telling me I got to be an asshole? You know what I mean?
yeah, but yes, you do. You know what I mean?
Why?
I'm an extremist. At least that's what I'm told. You know
Right.
what I mean? If I'm going to say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it all the way. You know what I mean? So I had to say, nah, I ain't doing that. You know what I mean? And that
Right.
might be sharp like an asshole.
Right.
Over time, I will be able to dial it back a little bit.
Right.
You know what I mean? But
Right,
I'm
right,
growing
right.
my thorns. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? It's piercing through the skin. It's uncomfortable.
Right.
You know, and people had to get used to me saying like, no, I'm not going to do that. You know what I mean? Like you open this up with, you know, this is a movie star. Well, prior to that ICE conversation, when my manager at the time, and God bless her, because she was highlighting something in me by telling me what I couldn't do to highlight what I really believe within myself. She didn't know that I was writing on my behind the mirror in my apartment that I was living in that I'm a movie star. And she says, Will, we're on the phone. You're nothing but a co-star actor right now.
She said that?
She said that. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And I said within myself, I'm a movie star. But had she not said that, I would have never heard myself really say it. Because I've been saying it
Right.
quietly.
Right.
I'm a movie star, I'm a movie star, I'm a movie. Until the word was challenged is when it came out.
Right.
And then boom, that was one thorn that grew, because the roses may have thorns, 5 or 6 different thorns on the stem.
Right.
You know what I mean? That was one that grew. Like, nah, man, if you gonna say it, you gotta believe it. You gotta man up. You know what I mean? Big dog gonna eat type thing.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? You gotta believe it, even if nobody else believes it.
Right.
So it's part of being an a-hole for a time.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Until you can find that balance.
And what you really mean by that is having a clear, firm, set boundary and going after what it is that you believe in.
Yeah.
And you might have to deliver the message in a way that is kind of abrupt and strong, because you are, as you said, it's new.
Yes, it's new, but unfortunately, when you nice, people don't hear you.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's been my experience.
Right.
You know what I mean? They only hear you when you say, nah, I'm not doing that.
Right.
You know what I mean? When I say,
boundaries are sexy.
Yeah. Nah, okay, no. It's too indecisive.
Right.
You know what I mean? You gotta be, okay, it's A, B.
Right.
And then you get stuff done that way. And
right.
I've learned that works for me in my career. I've had these conversations with management. Hey man, look, at this point, I should only be 1 or 2 on the call sheet.
Right.
And then the conversation behind the scenes is, no, he thinks he's further along than where he's at. Well, I'm a very highly intelligent human being. I know where I'm at. But if you don't think further along, you will never be there. It's your job to see the vision.
Right.
And so when I said that, I'm like, they just don't see it. You know what I mean? And then what I go do an indie color book, lead it. Mm-hmm. And that's just got picked up on Netflix. That's going to come out on June 19th. Ooh. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But if I didn't say to myself first, if I ain't 1 or 2 on the call sheet, I'm probably not going to do it. Doesn't mean I won't go do 3, 4, 5 if it makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're a leading man doesn't start when they give you the job as a leading man.
Right, absolutely.
You got to lead every time you wake up in the morning. Absolutely. You got to lead your family. You got to lead your decisions.
Right.
You got to lead your life.
Right.
Yeah.
I believe that everything you're saying resonates with me so much. I've been thinking about just the concept of, I'm a single man,
mm-hmm.
right? And what I've realized is that I used to say when I was, chasing women around, or even after I stopped chasing women around, after I got sober and I started to become a lot more intentional about
mm-hmm.
the way I was dating and everything like that, I used to feel that the right woman
mm-hmm.
was going to make me feel like a husband.
Mm.
Or the right woman was going to come around into my life, and then all of a sudden I was going to be like, now that I met her, I'm ready to step up and be a husband. I'm ready to step up and be a father. And what I realized in my last relationship was that the growth that she and I had together and the things that I had to do completely separate from her, mm-hmm. right? The growth that I had to have on my own while being in the relationship built something in me that I had not yet had, where all of a sudden it was like, oh, I am a husband.
Mm-hmm.
I am a father, completely separate from her. You know what I mean? Like that energy is now in me.
Yeah.
So now I feel like, oh, I can go meet a wife
mm-hmm.
that is looking for a husband right now, because I actually carry that energy already in my body. So I resonate so much with what you're saying. And I resonate with what you're saying because of the shift, like what I'm doing with this podcast.
Yeah. What
I'm realizing is like, I still have doubts,
mm-hmm.
They're not gone. I show up sometimes to an episode of this, and I got worries in my mind. Am I going to run out of things to say?
Mm-hmm.
Am I going to forget? I'm going to lose my train of thought, or
mm-hmm.
am I going to run out of questions to ask this person, or whatever the case may be? And then I can hear this like doubt thing in my body, like start to be like, well, maybe you should just cancel.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you should just, give it, maybe do next week when you feel a little better.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm like, nah, the act of staying in the game.
Yeah.
The act of going and showing up and turning that camera on and hitting this micro, and him doing his job and me speaking my thing and me booking the session with you and making sure you're here and doing all the things,
mm-hmm.
me continuing to do that regardless of the doubt
mm-hmm.
is how it happens,
mm-hmm.
is how I solidify that in me, so that it becomes me, so that I can keep going and stay resilient, and my resilience keeps building, my capacity keeps building. So it seems like it's a similar version of what you were saying about recognizing you may not see it yet.
Mm-hmm.
Like the world may not see me as one of the top 5 mental health podcasters in the world. I do.
Yes.
I do. And I know there's still skills that I need to develop, things that I want to continue to learn. It doesn't mean that I feel like I've reached my ceiling and I'm going to stop learning and stop growing. But it also feels like I'm him.
Yeah. Well, there's a few things you said that I don't want to run over. I'll start with number 1 about the being a husband. That is an inward journey, not an external journey. That husband is already within you. That woman that you're going to marry is already deep within you. So the deeper a man will go within himself, then the woman will appear. You know what I mean? This is the reason why Adam birthed Eve. You know what I mean? God pulled Eve out of Adam when he said, I couldn't find it in an animal. I couldn't find it in this. I couldn't find it in that, because Adam was working. He was protecting. He was doing all the things that he was doing. And it was like, oh, I'm missing something. So when you start to get that missing within yourself, then you know that it's already being birthed within you. That will be number 1. Number 2, sometimes you're not feeling doubt from within.
Say that again.
Sometimes you're not feeling doubt from within.
Sometimes I'm not feeling doubt
from within.
From within.
It is the doubt of the others that you have to save. That you're feeling. That is saying also, I don't want to come. I don't want to come. Maybe you should cancel. Maybe you're also picking up on that vibration too.
Wow.
So when you go and say, I'm going to set it up, I'm going to contact DJ, I'm going to get in here with Will and we're going to do this, then this is going to come across to the person that needs to hear it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So a lot of times, especially as artists, we feel everything, but it's not always our feelings that we're feeling. You know what I mean?
Wow. First of all, I've never thought about that before. I mean, I've thought about it in the sense that if I'm sitting in a room with a bunch of people who are doubters, you know, and have like whatever shitty energy, then yes, if we're all here. I never thought about.
There's one more thing I wanted to say.
Please, go ahead.
And a lot of people do this, and I've been guilty of it too. We disqualify our experience just because I'm not minimize it. I'm not Tony Robinson yet.
Tony Robbins.
Tony Robbins. Doesn't mean that I'm not him now.
Right.
You know what I mean? He was once saying the same thing.
Right.
I can do this thing. I can use these words that are taboo, and I can also use them to heal people that maybe the church may shun, but I know how to get to the person. You know what I mean? That person is happening in the room before the millions and millions and millions and millions of people meet his voice.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So this, once again, you're feeling that now because it's the same. It's the same frequency.
First of all, that's deep as hell and helpful. It's helpful for me to hear it right now because you were saying about picking up on other people's frequency.
Yes.
Right? Which I think is so real. And I think it's part of the reason why it's so important to be very mindful of the people you surround yourself with.
100%.
You know? But forget the circle, right, for a second. Like the people, like you are in my circle and I'm in your circle. Like forget about that for a second. Let's just talk about people in the world, right? I understand that if I'm in a room and a bunch of people are like, nah, man, it's scary, you know, be careful, you know, you're just not going to work or whatever. It's like, yes, it's easy to pick up on that energy. But it seems like what you're saying is that you don't even need to be in the room with them to pick up on their energy. No. If they're out there, you could feel that. So then if that's the case, and this goes back to people pleasing, right? Because I'm realizing now, as a 46-year-old man, right? And having started this podcast at 45 years old, right? I got the ball in motion August of last year. The question that I would ask you is, I recognized at a certain point, subconsciously, there was something that happened around that time where I was like, you, Ben, can no longer allow your fears of how the other world is going to receive you to stop you from taking actions. And what I realize is so interesting about this kind of, call it a conundrum, call it a whatever, is that my whole goal of making this podcast is to help people, right? Is to help people with their shift. People recognizing they're stuck, people realizing they're, they want to become more confident. They want to put more into their career. They want to, post more on social media, but they have all these fears about how this video is going to be. I still experience it about how they're going to be received, right? But in order to help someone, in order to truly help someone, you have to become the fullest and truest version of yourself, right? So as long as I am holding back because I'm afraid of how I'm going to be received by them, right? I become less able to help them that I'm actually afraid of how they're going to see me. So it becomes this kind of like catch-22. So my question to you is, how does one stop people pleasing? First of all, even before you stop people pleasing, how does one recognize and actually have a moment where they're like, you know what? It ain't even my family and my friends that their ideals and ideas are the ones that are holding me back. I'm taking on, as you said, I'm taking on doubt that exists in the world. How does one even get to a point where they recognize that that's happening?
Well, I think there's a question behind the question. I don't think this is a question solely on people pleasing. This is a question on, you just have to start. Because a lot of times, we're creating this illusion of fear, which then bleeds into doubt and every other thing and insecurities.
What do you mean an illusion of fear? If you feel fear, isn't it real?
Yeah, but is it? You know what I mean? Because you can feel in love with someone and then you can be out of love with them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
A lot of times we have these illusions in our mind of what we think people think about us. Just like at the table, at the restaurant, Will's chilling. He's fine with the silence. I'm thinking that I need to steer the conversation. You're telling yourself a story within your mind, which is an illusion of which actually is happening in the moment.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So the person that feels like they're called to help somebody, you're really helping you on the other side of helping somebody. So you just have to start. You have to start the thing.
Say what you just said. Say that one more time.
Yeah, you're helping you. You know what I mean? Because usually when there's an issue that you feel, it's really about helping and saving you, and other people benefit because they're also going through the same thing. Right. You know what I mean?
Right. Absolutely.
So this is the reason why I tell myself all the time, hey man, just start.
Right.
Just start. Just start. You don't need to know everything. And that's human beings. We want to know every single thing. Yep. I need to know step A. I need to know step B. Doesn't mean that you can't have a great business plan, but things are going to change. When we get a script, the script going to change about 100 times before we shoot it. Right. You know what I mean? Right. And I might not feel confident that day. I might not feel that I can do the job. But one thing I have to do is I just need to get in the cab. I just need to sit there. Right. You know what I mean?
You need to show up.
I just need to show up.
Right.
Because I know deep within my Noah that I'm called to do this, even though I don't have all the mathematics about it. Right. I just need to start the thing. Right. You know what I mean? You started this thing. If you don't start, I don't come. Right. You know what I mean? And other people don't come neither. Right. You know what I mean? So if
you build it, they will come.
If you build it, they will come. Right. I'm thinking about Phil Jackson. Okay. You know what I mean? If Phil doesn't start to become a coach, maybe Michael don't get those championships. Right. We don't get to have childhood experiences of Mike hitting you with the fadeaway. Right. Mike with the chain around the neck jumping from the free throw line. Right. Right. Just as great as Mike or Jordan in his greatness, also is Phil starting and becoming that, okay, my life is in a shift from playing ball, that my next level is coaching. Right. You know what I mean? Right. Yeah. So, I don't know. I just think, I do know. Life has a flow, man. And, a lot of times we don't take the flow, or we don't go with the flow, or we don't pivot when it's time to do the next thing. You know what I mean?
So that brings me to a great question for you, because you are a very multi-talented, multifaceted individual. And you have a family, right? You got 2 kids, you got a wife, and you are a movie star that is continuing to be busier and busier and busier, you know, booking more and more work, bigger work, longer periods of time, bigger paychecks, you know, all those things, which is phenomenal. It's it's an incredible thing to witness. You're also a leader. You're a coach. You were my coach. I mean, you still, you have the academy. You have a platform. You have a coaching, I don't know how to call it, a school called the Catlett Academy, where you have, and I'm a member of it, and you get on a call with us, and we hop on, and you have a topic, and you coach us, and it's been beyond helpful. I truly believe that without the academy, the shift doesn't happen. At least maybe it happens, but it happens a lot later than it did. You know, when you talk about your flow, right? And you're getting this offer for this job and this offer for this job, and you also want to speak to your people, the people that you coach, and all these things. How do you, and you want to be a dad, and you want to be a husband, and you got all these things. How do you find your flow with all that? Did you ever feel overwhelmed?
The only word that I'm hearing is sacrifice. Because sometimes my daughter wants my attention, but I got pages to read. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And kids don't understand that. You know, they want daddy.
Right.
They want daddy.
Right.
You know what I mean? But my daughter's getting better at it as she's getting older, because she's 7 now. And she's like, you know, daddy, I don't want you to go. I don't want you to go.
Right.
You know, where are you going?
Right.
You know, but at the same time, you know, I gotta get the material down. But I have a system too, you know what I mean? So I might say, okay, cool, I might have to sacrifice this material for 5 minutes, you know, to give my daughter what she needs, because that is just as important.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And then I may stay up a little later to get the material down, or I may just go to sleep.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'll get it in the morning, you know? So it's different sacrifices that a man or a woman, or a man and a woman, must make in life. The kids get the benefit from my sacrifices.
Right.
You know what I mean? But I'm enjoying what I do. You know, I'm enjoying being between 3 jobs right now. You know what I mean? I'm enjoying leaving Netflix show last night and getting on a plane in the morning, landing here today, and then coming here to do the podcast.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because this is what I prayed for. Right. You know what I mean? This is what I was telling the managers and the agents. This is what I'm still telling them. Yo, we got to be thinking global. We got to be thinking this. You don't have to be a star only in America. Why don't I have an article in Japan?
Right.
You know what I mean? But, you know, I'm not saying they don't believe. You know what I mean? But it's at the level of belief that a person believes in themselves if they're going to believe you.
Right.
If I'm telling you about a vision that I have, but you don't have a vision for your own life, it's going to be hard to understand me.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Because I'm like Elon and yay.
Right.
You know what I mean? Trapped in a person. You know what I mean? So many other things that I want to do.
Yep.
You know what I mean? As far as them as their creativity and the things that, and they voice in the world. You know what I mean? But it's sacrifice. You know what I mean? You don't get the chance to spend all the time you want to do with your wife. You know what I mean? So when I kiss my wife, when I kiss my kids, you know what I mean? I like that kiss might have to last 2 or 3 months.
Right.
You know what I mean? For myself too. You know what I mean? So that I can go do what I love to do. But I'm on a mission. You know what I mean? I'm on a mission to tackle greatness, to subdue greatness, to be greatness.
What does greatness mean to you?
Being and doing what I want to do. You know, doing what I want to do.
Right.
You know what I mean? When I want to do it. And there's different levels of that. You know what I mean? I keep bringing up Michael Jordan. You know, Michael Jordan has the gift of greatness. He's great in basketball. You know what I mean? He's great in NASCAR. You know what I mean? He's great in business. Not so much great in the baseball like that. You know what I'm saying?
Right, no.
You know what I mean? But his greatness brings people to him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I have that same quality. You know what I mean? And so I'm not chasing it. I'm becoming it. You know what I mean? So the deeper I go within myself, the deeper your listeners go within themselves, they have to know that they have value and space in the world. And a lot of people don't feel that they're valuable and that there's space for them. You know what I mean? Someone may be watching right now that's thinking about ending it. No, there's space for you. There's space for you in the world. You're valuable. You know what I mean? You got to know that. You know what I mean? If you deeper you go within yourself, there's something that somebody's waiting for you to become so that you can help them on the other side of what you're going through.
Right.
You know what I mean? Don't kill yourself for a moment. It's just a moment.
Right.
You know what I mean? There will be many more moments. And I've been there, you know, at 22 years old in college. You know what I mean? Man, I just want to end it. You know, I don't know. I'm depressed. I'm stressed out. I called my boy Donald like, yo, the doc gonna put me on these Prozacs. He like, yo, throw them pills away, dog. You need to just come out and have a good time. And we go to the club in DC because I'm from the DMV, and I'm dancing on this girl legs all night.
Right.
I think we off the, what was hot at the time? I think Grey Goose or something like that.
Okay.
So I'm off the Grey Goose, and I don't know why this girl is letting me just dance on her all night. Like she's on the stage, and I'm just vibing. I'm not touching her, but I'm just vibing with her. You know what I mean?
Right.
And my boy come over, and he like, yo, is he good? He ain't bothering you, is he? She like, nah. But what she may have not known that she was delivering me in that moment.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I never felt depressed or that I needed pills for anything ever again. You know what I'm saying? Never again. But if I don't go have that moment, if I'm super religious,
I gotta meet her.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, listen, I owe her some bread. At some point, she gonna hear this. You know what I mean? I'm gonna be up, and I'm gonna break her off. You know what I'm saying?
Remember this moment?
Yeah.
If you remember this moment with this man, you need to reach out to me on the shift, and we are gonna find you because that is an incredible. What you did for this man's life is unbelievable.
It just made me think of it like wow, like you know, God has a way of making things turn for the good.
Well, it makes me think of the way we met.
Yeah.
Obviously completely different situation and way later on in life. So we met in acting class. And for those who are not familiar with method acting, there's a thing in method acting that's used called basic relaxation. And well, basic relaxation and sensory work. And it looks fucking weird, you know, for those who don't know it. Like you do, like your arms are out like this. You're making noise. You know, and you're asking questions like, what do I experience on my nipples when I'm naked in a hot bathtub? Or you're looking at you. Like, what do I
remember because you was like, you was looking at me.
I was looking.
In my mind, I'm like, this motherfucker crazy. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm thinking in my mind. That's what I'm saying in my mind. I'm like, bro, what they on in here, man? Like, you know what I mean? But then I'm like, well, shoot, me. Say I'm all in.
Right.
All right. He challenging me.
Yep.
Okay, we gonna be in this thing together. Well, go ahead.
Well, that's how it felt, right?
It felt
like, because I sensed your energy, right? It was the new dude in class.
Yeah.
Right? I kind of felt like I was like the alpha in class. Like I'm I was one of the best actors in the room. At least, you know, in my mind I was, you know. And I see you and I'm like, all right, this dude's, I don't know who he is, but he's got an energy. He's got a gravitas to him, you know? So when I'm doing the exercise and I'm looking at you and we're making eye contact, I was like, oh, I'm impacted by this dude's energy, right? And I'm using all this. So anyway, we end up talking a little bit, and then the very next day, you walk over to me. We like chatted a little bit. We like, you know, introduced us. And then you came over to me and you were like, yo, can I talk to you for a second? And I was like, yeah, what's up? And you said, yo, I'll never forget this. We're standing on Bond Street, right outside the classroom. You said, every time I walk into an acting class, I like to look around the room and size up the room and ask myself, who are the dogs? Like, who are the really good actors in here that probably already have careers that I just don't know about yet? And you said, immediately I landed on you. And you said, I went home that night because I knew your name and I looked you up on IMDb. And you said, when I got to IMDb and I found your name, I saw how little credits you had. I saw how small your acting resume was. And then you looked at me and you go, why? What's that about? And I was like, partly offended, you know, partly like, but there was something in that moment when I looked at you, I was like, I don't know if I would have been able to voice it in that moment, but I knew you were coming from a place of love. I knew it wasn't like, yo, what the fuck's wrong with you? You know what I mean? It was like, why are you not achieving what I see in you? Why is your outer life not a reflection of the talent that I see within you? Right? Was what you were saying. And Idera was standing there. This is why it's so important to have fucking friends that really keep it real with you.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And why it's important to have friends that are making those moves within them, because if they don't, they're not going to see what you're doing as anything wrong. They're not going to even recognize that there's a problem. They're going to be like, oh, yeah, well, he's trying. He's trying, right? But you saw a disconnect, right? And that was when you were in New York shooting 1001, which you were amazing in, by the way. And y'all won the Sundance Award for Best Feature Drama, didn't you?
Yeah, we did. Yeah, we did. Yeah.
Unbelievable. With Tiana Taylor. And so you're in New York shooting 1001. You pull me to the side to say that to me. And Idera comes over. She hears the question. I didn't know how to answer it. I remember standing there and being like, you know, I don't know. I started to talk about my manager. I was like, well, my manager doesn't get me out for enough auditions or da-da-da-da. And Idera comes over and she says, that's not what it is. She goes, Ben's biggest problem is that in Ben's mind, he has a ceiling. There's a ceiling of how far he can go. And he can't see past that ceiling. We might be able to see it in him. But in our mind, we could watch Ben and be like, oh, his ceiling doesn't exist. In his mind, it does.
Yeah.
And I remember standing on the street, looking at you, looking at her, and just being like, she's right. Like in that moment, recognizing that in my mind, I'm not that dude. I have limitations. I'm not that talented. Yeah, maybe I'll catch a break. You know, maybe someone will come along with an audition one day and I'll get hot on a particular TV show and then my career will pick up. But like if that happens, like, you know, hopefully it does, but not owning it, like we say, being a husband before you're a husband, being a movie star before you're a movie star in the eyes of the outside world. It was almost like, in my mind, the only way I was ever going to lose the ceiling was if somehow the world came and said to me, you don't have to have the ceiling anymore because we're going to give you an acting job that pays you $50,000 an episode and you're going to be a lead and the show's going to now have 5 seasons, and it would take me being a star on a show for 5 seasons in order to actually believe that. And what I'm starting to realize within myself, because this last year of my life, I have been starting, right, and continuing like more than I ever have before, is that, can that happen? Can someone just kind of give you something that you don't already have within you, maybe based on the way you look or whatever? Sure, it can happen. Is it a lot more likely that someone's going to come around and be like, you're the lead of the show because you're already the lead of the show? I didn't see that. I honestly don't think I saw that until I started this podcast. I honestly think starting this podcast was the thing that changed that for me.
Yeah, you know what I saw when you were speaking, and I was looking at you and I was looking at your forehead specifically. You know what I mean? Because I felt like I was looking at other people through you, like millions and millions of people through you. And the word that was written was approval. Most people are waiting for approval.
Yes. Goddamn.
And that's the ceiling that's on their mind. That's the shackle that's on their mind. And that's the stronghold that has to be pulled down.
Right.
You know what I mean? You have to give yourself that approval. You can't wait on someone to approve you. You know what I mean? It just doesn't work that way.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's the person saying that I am before the world knows that I am.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
This is why kings, you know, train their children in a kingdom to know who they are before they take over the kingdom.
Right.
So that they're not seeking approval.
Right.
Most of us are seeking approval from someone that can't even approve you. You know what I mean?
Right.
The industry can't give you that. You know what I mean? At the end of the day,
it's a fool's errand.
It's a fool's errand. You know what I mean? I was thinking of a thing today. I was working on this book that I'm writing. I said, you know, it's chasing a purple donkey. It doesn't exist. You know what I mean? It doesn't. You're chasing something, and if you're chasing it, it's already outrunning you. You know what I mean? This is why we have to be.
That is a bar.
You know what I mean?
That is
yeah,
a
that's like,
fucking
man, you
bar.
gotta chase this game, you gotta chase this, you gotta chase that. It's outrunning you if you're chasing it. You know what I mean? When I stopped chasing a career, chasing an award, you know what I mean? I know that I have those things. I already know that, mark my word, you'll see me collect at least in my lifetime, minimum 3 Oscars, minimum.
No doubt in my mind.
I know that.
Right.
You know what I mean? Now, when is that going to happen? I don't know.
Right.
I'm looking forward to it. You know what I'm saying? I'm looking forward to being on that stage.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to being among my peers. I'm looking forward to sharing a story that I've been waiting to share when I get to that stage about a particular individual that I've met. I have that story. I know exactly what I'm going to say. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not waiting on an award show to give me that approval.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
The person that is listening to this, you got to approve yourself, and you don't need to know all the ins and outs of everything.
Right.
You know what I mean? You just got to do it.
Right.
You just got to start. You know what I mean? And that's what I saw with you that night. You know what I mean? Because most people in acting classes, you know, they're A-list in the class until they go out into the world.
Right.
Because the class is safe.
Right. Absolutely.
You know, the world is vicious.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And so when I'm looking for who can I grow from? You know, I grew so much from Tony Greco in that class.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think the reason why I had so much success with 1001 was because going to that class. Even though I never put up a scene.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I didn't get a chance to because I was working.
Class.
You put up a scene in class.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But, you know, just listen to him talk, you know, and also listen to other people who don't believe in themselves.
Right.
I think one class I said it. Y'all, I'm gonna say how I feel and not. Y'all motherfuckers just don't believe in yourself.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? And
Yep.
if you believed in yourself, you wouldn't be seeking approval.
Right.
And half of y'all will be, you know, killing it in this game right now if you would just believe in yourself.
I remember the moment.
Yeah.
There was a dude who was talking about, he's like, I just don't know it, and you were just like, yo, you just bust out. You were like, I'm on a different level than y'all. Like, and I remember those words, but you didn't say it in a way like, you were talking to Tony. You were like, Tony, what is going on? Like, you said all the things about believing in yourself, and you said the thing about being on a different level. And I know there were people in the room that were like, who the fuck does this dude think he is? Yeah. But you were actually trying, you were speaking into them.
Yeah, because the thing is, I see Tony. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, I know what Tony's trying to do.
Right.
Tony doesn't have a Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Right.
That he can work with, that he can pour himself into. Right. You know what I mean? Right. You know, if we had time, he can pour that into me, but he doesn't see it. Right. You know what I mean? So because he doesn't see it, other people are not catching what he's saying. And so now they're hanging on to every word and they're not believing in themselves. Right. So I'm like, I get what he wants to do. You know what I mean? It's not that they're not in that class. They just don't know how to see beyond what he's looking for. Mm-hmm. I can see it. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm cut from that cloth. Right. You know what I mean? Doesn't mean that
you've also cut from that cloth. You've built that cloth.
Yeah, but I'm also just cut from it. It's just a grace God has given me. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like
Absolutely.
the Sidneys, the Harry Belafontes, those guys, I'm cut from that cloth.
Yeah.
So I can see the Philip Seymour Hoffmans, the Meryl Streeps, and the Denzels, and all of them are a rare group of individuals. You know what I mean? Yep. And there's a few people in there that could do that, but they're stuck at the block of belief. Right. You know, and Tony's trying to break that block. You know what I'm saying? But he has his own unique way of doing that. Right. And if you don't see it the way he sees it, then sometimes your confidence can go down. Right. And I didn't want certain people confidence to go down, but I didn't want to overstep neither. Right. Even though we and him never had that conversation, I'm sure we're going to work together on something great.
Oh, and Tony didn't have a problem with you doing it.
You know what I mean? But I was, in my ability to help and to see people, I was trying to cut through and save someone. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, oh, maybe this is not the thing that you're supposed to be doing. You know what I mean? We ain't here in acting class, but maybe you're supposed to design a better car, a better watch. Right. You know, maybe you're supposed to manage some of these people in here. Right. You know what I mean? But you got to see what it is that you're supposed to be doing. And that's the shift the person has to take within themselves.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? What are you supposed to be doing? I came out to California to play basketball. That wasn't my thing.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But in this acting thing, I'm MJ.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I'm getting better with time like fine wine.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So, you know, and sometimes we get discouraged in that because we see so many people go ahead and then man, they on. What about me? Now you in the realm of comparison.
Right.
You looking at everybody else.
Yep.
And you may be looking at somebody's end and you think it's their beginning. You know what I mean?
Right.
You know what I mean? So that's why you gotta swipe your life. What does your life look like? I'm seeing how many people that I can hug, that I can touch, that I can awake what it is that they're supposed to do. Is way more than just acting.
Right.
You know, when I ask God to send me somewhere, send me to an assignment. I can't just go for acting. I can do that in my sleep. You know what I mean? And I'm going to continue to get better and hone my craft and all that stuff. But this set that I'm on right now, look at this lady and I'm like, I saw you with Dave Chappelle. You should be doing stand up. I see it as clear as day. Funny naturally. You know, you should be doing stand up. You should be doing this. You could do it. You know what I mean? I know there's some issues in the childhood that has kept you from becoming, but you also should be doing animation. Like your voice being from Australia and the way you frame words and your comedic timing, like you can have a special. You know what I mean? And I'm telling her this while she's doing this. Not that that's not a part of her journey.
Right, putting makeup on you.
Yeah, but I'm sent to tell you, you can't die without becoming because you don't give the license to others to become. And this is why people have to see value in themselves. Because when you and I met, before I went to go work with Apple for Constellations with Numi Rapace and Jonathan Banks, you know what I mean? I was at a low moment, man. You know what I mean? I'm like, dang, the money drying up. You know, I'm a little too known to go work at Trader Joe's.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
I get stopped every day, but the account ain't reflecting where my mind is at. And I'm sitting at the bar ordering something
in New York.
That I don't even know if I can really afford at the time.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And then you come in, bruh. It was like a beam of light when I saw you sitting at the bar.
That's what I said.
That's what you said to me. You know what I'm saying? And if had we not met, the same thing I had given to you, you boomeranged it right back to me. And then I get on the plane, because sometimes we don't know when our next breakthrough coming from. I get on the plane and I get a call from the agents and the manager, hey, you going to Germany to do Constellation. You know what I mean? So in my business mind, so what they offering?
Right.
You know what I mean? They offering this, that, and the third. Okay, I'm happy about it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But I'm also like, I got about 4 bands in my account.
Right.
But I might have to turn down this job if this job ain't 6 figures. Because I told myself my next series regular, it's got to be at least 6 figures. How am I going to tell these people in the academy that you got to stand on your word if I'm not on mine? And I'm like, dang, okay. So I call my manager and agent like, yeah, if it ain't this, I can't go. Most people like, you're crazy. You know what I'm saying? I can't go. You know what I mean? Thank God that they came up to the figure that I needed to be. And it wasn't about the money. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It was about the principle. And you said boundaries earlier. You know what I mean? If you want to shift your life, you gotta have boundaries and principles that you stand on, and you can't be moved.
Right.
Everything else has to bend around those principles.
Right.
You know what I mean? And now, you know what I mean? As I'm still climbing, you know what I mean? I know that these things work. So I can tell my students, nah, you know what I mean? You gotta believe in yourself. You know what I mean? You gotta start the thing. And you also gotta set a line that a certain person can't cross. That's the thorn that I learned from Ice.
Mm-hmm.
That's what he was really saying. You got to have boundaries.
Right.
If you nice, you're going to take everything that is offered to you.
Right.
Just because it comes as an offer doesn't mean you have to accept it.
Right.
You know what I mean? Everybody's getting offered things. You know what I mean? You look online right now, you're getting sold something every 5 minutes.
Every 5 seconds.
Every 5 seconds, yeah. You know what I mean? I click on, watch the game on Prime, and I like because the Prime cameras be hitting.
Mm-hmm.
You know, watch it. But then right in the little left-hand corner, you selling me something sent to my phone.
Right.
It's like, I just want to watch the game, dog.
Right. Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But maybe we'll fix it in the future. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, you know, I hope that that helps, you know, someone, because I know it helps me.
You talked one day in one of the days of the academy. You were talking about grace.
Mm-hmm.
You were using the word grace, if I remember, and correct me if I mess this up. But you were saying that we have this attachment sometimes to thinking that everything needs to be hard.
Mm-hmm.
And if it comes easy to us, then that means it can't be our thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I remember this so vividly. And this is the main reason, honestly, of all the and we went through, I think we probably had 27, 28 sessions of the academy, right? So, and they've all had impacts on my life in different ways. But when I said to you that I don't think that the shift happens if it wasn't for the academy, if I had to pick one session of ours that had the biggest impact on me as far as this is concerned, it would be that one.
Wow.
And I'm gonna tell you why. Because in my mind, I'm an actor. That's it, right? But the world of acting wasn't giving me what I was hoping for, right? Like, I wasn't booking a lot of work. And the auditions weren't coming in the way I expected them to. And I'm sitting here like, I had made some major breakthroughs in my belief in myself, but they still weren't coming, right? So I'm sitting there and I asked myself a question. And I remember you and I were talking about something, and you were telling me how you love acting, right? You love it. And and most of the time you feel very much like in flow with it, whether you're auditioning. I mean, now you don't really audition anymore, but when you're on set. And I had to think about, and I thought about that for a moment, and I was like, acting's hard for me. It's not something that I would say to me, not always, sometimes it does, but a lot of the time it's challenging. And I'm like kind of putting myself through this thing and that thing and using this way of like this, you know, sensory thing to get through this, and it's got to drudge up all sorts of pain in my body. Like, it's not a pleasant experience a lot of the time. It was one day I'm in a recovery sobriety, you know, meeting, and I'm speaking in front of 250 people. And as soon as the meeting was over, I was the lead speaker, which means I speak for like I speak for 15 minutes, and then everyone else gets to speak for 3, right? Soon as I was done speaking, I put my number in the chat on the Zoom, and when the meeting was over, I looked and I had 40 text messages from people all over the world, from people in Australia and Germany, and men and women, and people being like, "Oh my God, you inspired me so much. I want to, you know, can we chat? I want to hear more about, you know, I want to tell you what's going on with me." And then I had guys being like, "Do you have slots for mentor? Will you be my mentor?" And I had a moment right then and there when I remembered that session of the academy. And I was thinking about it, and I was like, you know, when I speak on these recovery meetings and I talk about my experience as an addict and the things that it took for me to get sober, and how my relationship with God has become more and more intimate, and how now God, I really truly surrender my life and my will over to the care of God as I understand God as often as humanly possible, and how my life continues to get better and better the more that I do that, and all these different things. I started to realize, I was like, wait, this is easy for you. It's easy for you to talk about this. It's easy for you to sit one-on-one with one of these men that you're mentoring and listen to him talk about his porn addiction or his sex addiction or his fear of, you know, being accepted and all these things, and be able to speak into him and able to recognize the impact that I'm having on that man's life and see how after 6 months of us working together, he's in a way different place than he was 6 months ago when we first started working together. And being able to recognize that, yes, he had to do the work, but I was able to have a positive influence on his life.
Mm-hmm.
And when I started to see that, I was like, it's not to say that I'm putting acting down, but that's not really where I believe my genius lies. You know, I can't say that I can't say with the same conviction that you can sit there right now and say, I know that at some point I'm going to win 3 Oscars.
Mm-hmm.
Because the truth of the matter is, now that I've started the podcast, I've actually realized I don't really care that much. It's not my thing. I would so much rather be able to, whatever, I don't even know what awards podcasters win, I think, but for me, knowing that I was able to help 500,000 people get their lives into a better place, you know what I mean? And knowing that, like, whatever award there is for that, you know, that like I could see people that were on the verge, as you said, people that were on the verge of suicide,
Mm-hmm.
that somehow listening to this episode with you and I,
Mm-hmm.
and hearing that moment that you said about you're valuable,
Mm-hmm.
you know, knowing that this episode took somebody from on the verge of suicide, and then they reach out to, you know, they send an email to the Shift a year later, and they're like, yo, I've been a member, I've been listening to the Shift for 2 years now, and that episode that you had with Will Catlett got me from not committing suicide, and I kept listening, and now my life is in this like that. To me is my Oscar.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I'm not shitting on an Oscar.
Mm-hmm.
I want, bro. I will. I want you to win.
Yeah, but we have the same.
We do.
We have the same wavelength.
We
you
do.
know what I mean?
Absolutely.
You know, it's about, and I learned this from Oprah, and I was in Oprah's office when I was doing Love Is, and Nelson Mandela was on the back of her wall. You know what I mean? And I remember.
So Love Is was a TV show that you were on.
Yes.
And that was on the Oprah Winfrey Network.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. And I was really heavy into Miles Monroe, and Miles Monroe said, Miles Monroe is a preacher. He's no longer with us, but he has all these great teachings on YouTube. And he was saying that when he met Nelson Mandela, it was like he was shaking a rock. A hand of a rock, you know? Mm-hmm. And so I will always remember that. So I was, you know, looking at the picture, and then Oprah has this thing that she's so present that when you look into her eyes, you kind of want to cry. You know what I mean?
I feel that sometimes with you.
Yeah. She has that thing. Like, I'm looking at her, but I know she sees me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So Nelson, Oprah, right? So I said, what is legacy to you?
You said this to Oprah.
I said this to Miss Oprah Winfrey.
Miss Oprah Winfrey.
She said, legacy is what you deposit into the hearts of humanity.
Wow.
Legacy, William, is what you deposit into the hearts of humanity. I get up. She smacks me on my back, like how my dad smacks me on my back.
Right.
And said, go get him. I will never forget that moment.
How could you?
In my life.
Yeah.
And that's why I say we're on the same thing, because that's what I'm trying to do.
Absolutely.
On the biggest stage.
Yeah. Yeah.
And sometimes the biggest stage is leaving Netflix and coming to New York City to do a short film.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Because this my boy is doing it.
Right.
He raised the money to do it.
Yep.
You know what I mean? You doing something that all of us want to do, is taking the bull by the horns, grabbing the horse by the reins.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, I'm here, baby. I'm coming. You know what I mean? Because we're trying to deposit something into the hearts of humanity. And I think when more people wake up and know that we're all in this world together, no matter what your color is, no matter what your religion is, you know what I mean? Political stance.
That's a big one.
You know what I mean? When one hurts, we all hurt. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We need to really be in a space of unity. You know what I mean? And each time you speak and each time someone is listening, you know, stands on their stoop, you know, whatever their cause is and speak, you know what I mean? It's all helping everybody, you know what I mean, rise to the top. Right. You know what I mean? And that's why you say, I found my thing. Mm-hmm. I'm like, yes. You know, and now that you found your thing, now God said, okay, he can have acting now.
Right.
He can do it whenever he wants to do it.
Right. Absolutely.
You know what I mean? At his own leisure.
Absolutely.
Because if he would have, if you would have received that earlier, it would have crushed you. Because that would have been your God.
Right. Absolutely.
You know what I mean? I'm this, I'm that, I'm Ben Brown, boom. Right. You know what I'm saying? Even like, you know, sometimes I get asked all the time, like, man, you know, it feels like, you know, your career should be further along than what it is. You know what I mean? I'm like, nah, baby, I'm on God's time.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
He's setting me up exactly where I need to be because there's somebody that I need to meet or somebody that needs to meet me. Right. At that specific time and at that specific moment. You know what I mean? And so I'm like, I've come.
You ain't trying to fast forward.
I ain't trying to fast forward.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
I'm not, you know, let your will be done in my life.
Yep.
You know what I mean? That's where I'm at. And it takes time. You know, when you get into your 40s, you become a little bit more relaxed in that. You know what I mean? You're more like, all right, man, you know, I'm at your mercy. Yep. You know what I mean? And hopefully the young man that's 20 years old is like, you know, I ain't got to run. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Let me go within. And if I go within, then I'll know where to point my energy to. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I mean, that's what to me, the whole different shifts that we have in our lives, you know what I mean, is about. It's about you recognizing it, number one, and then acting upon it, number two. Mm-hmm. You know, a lot of times we don't recognize it, so we don't act upon it. Or we recognize it, we don't apply the action.
Right. I want to talk about what you just said about recognizing it.
Yeah.
Right. And I want to connect it to the session of the academy that I was just referring to when you
on
were
grace.
On grace. Mm-hmm. Right. Mm-hmm. Because what I've realized, and you've also had a huge hand in the academy, watching you, learning from you, Hana as well, your wife, has also had an impact in addition to getting sober on my relationship with God. Mm-hmm. I think that being around people who are achieving greatness in their lives as they define greatness, or as they've defined greatness by their connection from God, right? Is that I watch you and I'm like, okay, here's this man who's got this confidence and has got this career and has this beautiful wife and these kids and all these things are happening. And every time I talk to him, he's like, man, I'm great. I'm eating a bagel and fucking, you know, beautiful day in LA and life is beautiful. And I'm thinking about, and what I know about you is that you give all the glory to God, right? Everything you have, even your bravado, and like maybe there's a little ego in it, but it's majority about this is what God, or if not, maybe you'd say all of it, is this is what God has for me, and I'm just simply listening, right? Like, would you say that? Like God is giving you the message of who He wants you to be, of the direction He wants you to take, and your job is just to listen and to go do it, do His bidding. Is that how you see it?
Yeah, I do. I think it's all a discovery, you know what I mean? And what I mean by that, I do see it that way. And what I mean by discovery, God is an internal entity. He turned this way, you see a whole nother side of Him. You know what I mean? He turned this way. This is why the angels are holy, 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 and they fall, oh, your glory, because they just saw a different side of the Father. So as He's leading me and I'm doing my best to walk with Him, you know, as I see a different side of Him, I see a different side of myself. So therefore, I'm not attached to anything. I'm not attached to outcomes. I'm not attached to awards. It's nothing nobody can give me that I don't already have.
Wow.
That's the side that I've seen. Now I'll see another side, and you ask me that a year from now, I may have a whole nother perspective, and that's okay. I'm having a new revelation. You know what I mean? That's why, you know, it's a journey, you know what I mean? And I'm on that journey and I'm enjoying that journey. And I think more people will enjoy that journey if it was broken down to them in that way.
Right.
Because a lot of times people in search, trying to find themselves outside of themselves. So they enter all kind of things, whatever those things may be, you know, really trying to get to the thing. I got it. This comes easy to me. You know what I mean? And we overlook and we minimize and we reduce, you know what I mean, the thing that is easy because we're so used to working. I got to work at it. I got to work at it. I got to work at it. You know what I mean? But it might be right. You know, the old folks say it all the time. Man, if it was a snake, it would have bit you. Oh man, it was right under your nose. You know what I mean? It's always the thing that you minimize, that you overlook is the thing that you're supposed to be doing.
So why do you think it is that so many people in this world believe, a lot of books, a lot of people will say, the way you get better and achieve great things is by always doing the hardest thing, that you have to put yourself through the challenging situations and you have to continue to break through old versions of yourself. And what you're saying almost is that I don't think you're saying that that's necessarily fully wrong, but what you're also saying is that it doesn't need to be that way all the time.
The people or us or me don't understand grace. Grace is unmerited favor. Before you got here, God has given each individual or dealt each individual a measure of grace. You have a grace to do the shift for however long the grace is allotted for.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So that's not going to be hard for you to do. People are just going to come because the grace is there.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
I have a grace for acting.
Right.
However long that window of grace is. You know what I mean? There's a favor on me to do it. Nobody can stop it because it's a grace. You have different people have grace to be in political offices, you know what I'm saying, in different parts of the world. They have a grace for that. You know what I mean? Most people are overlooking where their grace is and they're working at something. Like basketball for me, it's not my grace.
Right.
You know what I mean? It was a vehicle to get me to California, to meet a guy at the Foot Locker, to introduce me to acting. You know what I mean? And this is something my dad wanted to do. And I always tell my dad, I'm using your grace because this is what you wanted to do. I wanted to play basketball. At least I thought. So it's important that you find where is the grace. And the grace is usually recognized because it's aiding you. It's helping you. It's making things a lot easier for you. Doesn't mean that you don't have to put in the work. You know what I mean? If you want stronger muscles, you got to get in the gym. You got to break the muscle down. You got to feel the burn. You know what I mean? But at the same time, there's people who can say, okay, I know exactly what we need to do to your body to make you look like a superhero because they have a grace to see it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Now they trying to do that in another field that they may not have grace in and they wonder why they're struggling.
Right. They go into interior design and they're trying to break down a room and it just ain't working.
It's just not working at all.
That's the same with me. Like I have a knack for fashion. I can say what things, you put me in an apartment and ask me, and I've done real estate and it's like you ask me to start like breaking down what's going to go in a room, I'm lost.
Yeah. But when we went to the store, fashion, you have a grace for it.
Yes, I do.
Nah, man, it's the way the box, the way the jacket lays on your shoulders.
Yep.
And then when you step in, you know, I had an acting coach tell me that, Gary Imhoff. He said, Will, Brad Pitt, Leonardo DiCaprio, George Clooney, these are the guys he mentioned at the time. And he said, when you're on stage, Will, just walk a little taller. These guys always walk a little taller. You know what I mean? He's giving me a grace. I haven't met Leonardo. I haven't met George Clooney. I haven't met Brad Pitt, but I met them. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You know what I mean? Because grace can be passed on. Grace can be pulled from an individual that you haven't met yet.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? But then also it says, don't frustrate the grace. If I'm using your grace and I disgrace you, and then people wonder why things are not working. But that's a topic for another day.
Wow. Well, I'm using your grace. I hope I ain't disgracing you. I know I'm not disgracing you. I know I'm not. So I want to talk about God for a second.
Okay.
My relationship to God, as I understand it, as I said, and I've told you this, is 7 years old. I've had a relationship with God for 7 years. I believe that God's always been there for me, but I did not have any sort of a relationship with God until I got sober. Without me learning, practicing, turning my life and my will over to God on a regular basis and being a part of this recovery program, I don't believe I'd have a relationship with God. At least it wouldn't be probably as potent as it is today, right? So I look at how my life has changed, all the ways in which my life has changed since God has come in, since I've had a conscious contact with God. I don't think without God guiding me, I would have been able to hear the session that we had about grace the way that I did. It wouldn't have been able to stick the way that it did, right? Because before, I was making all the decisions. My brain, right? My brain, which was based on all the trauma that I had, all the me being bullied when I was young and all these different things that I realize this now in retrospect, there was my ego, my hurt ego, my kind of scared little child that had been through all this shit that was like, I'm going to be an actor, because acting felt like the solution to the problem that I still felt inside of not being seen or heard, that I still felt from young, right? So I started to make all these decisions about the way that I ran my life and the decisions that I made about becoming an actor and all these things that were all based on my past experiences. They weren't based upon me being led, even though I might have been being led in a different way, right? Unbeknownst to me, right? God might have been leading me towards something. But I felt like the conscious decisions that I was making were coming from a place of ego. But then, as I started praying on a regular basis, going to meetings, mentoring other people, speaking at meetings, all these sorts of things, feeling the ease, going to that session where you're talking about grace, asking what's easy, all of a sudden, it was like, wait a minute, God, maybe you're guiding me towards something completely different than this idea that I have come up with and decided in my brain is the thing that is my thing, right? So here I am doing this podcast, which very much feels like it was given to me, right? Not something that I chose. It was something that was just kind of handed over, and it was like, oh, I'm now going to follow God's lead and I'm going to go do this thing. So my question to you is, because this is not a quote unquote spiritual podcast necessarily. Like, I mean, well, I don't want to say it's not. It's a spiritual podcast. That it definitely is a spiritual podcast. However, it's not a podcast where I'm sitting here telling someone who does not believe in God that you're lost, right? I don't believe that. I believe that you can find, whether it's your highest self, whatever it is that you're using as your guide, you can use. If you're an atheist, it doesn't mean you're fucked. If you're stuck, at least I want to believe that. But what do you think about that? What if someone is really feeling like they're stuck in a pattern? They don't know what it is. They feel like they don't have clarity as to what their next step is. They don't know what it is that they want to do. They don't have a relationship with God, and they're not really interested in a relationship with God. But they are interested in finding this thing that you and I are talking about. This thing that they feel like, I know what I want to do. I know the thing that I'm connected to. I can feel this ease. I can feel this flow. I can feel these things in my life, and I can feel like I have a purpose and feel excited about my life. How does an atheist, is it possible for an atheist to get there?
100%.
How?
Because they already believe that they're not there and it's not working. So therefore, why not try? Why not ask? I always tell people, it's not my job to push my impressions on you. But if it's something that you heard on this podcast from these two individuals that resonated with your spirit, then maybe you should seek that out, because you can't lie to yourself. This is why those AA meetings, they use God because they understand that there cannot be any transformation without the source.
Mm-hmm. Right.
This is why you take your Land Rover to a mechanic that is not the dealership. You cannot get a warranty on it because the warranty only comes from the maker of the car. You can have someone fix it and it may be just as good and it may be great, but they can't give you a warranty. There's a reason for that. You know what I mean? So always say, because, like, ask God. My God is Christ.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Jesus Christ.
Yep.
Ask him to have an experience. I don't fucking believe you. I seen this. I seen that. You know what I mean? If you was a God, then where you at?
Right.
Why am I going through this?
Yep.
You know what I mean? Prove yourself to me.
Right.
It's a relationship. If you that bold to go the other way, be that bold to go that way. And let's see what happens. You know what I mean? I know what's going to happen because I also was that guy. You know what I mean? Into this, into that, trying to figure it out. You know what I mean? The young lady that I love women. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. That's why I like when we doing Holla James. Yeah. But I love that because, God uses the foolish things to confound men's wisdom. I was brought to Christ from my high school girlfriend. You know what I mean? Hey, you should come to my church. You know what I mean? And my boy Jimmy, he played football and I'm bawling, crying. I don't know what I'm feeling. You know what I mean? I just know my spirit is feeling something. He's like, you want to go up there with me? I'll take you up there. We in high school at the time. You know what I mean?
You're in church.
We in church. You know what I'm saying? And Pastor Hamlin was the pastor at the time. You know what I mean? I didn't go that day, but I kept feeling that pull. You know what I mean? I kept feeling the pull. So
that one time.
One time. You know what I mean? And then I went on to get baptized. Right. Then I went on to have more of a spiritual relationship. But it's stages. Yeah. You know what I mean? That's why I tell people I don't Jesus people out. You know what I mean? You cursing around me it doesn't bother me because you have to have your own experience. Yep. I feel like if I shake your hand, you've met my God. Yep. You know what I'm saying? Because you've met me. You know what I mean? So I would tell anybody that's in that place, that's looking for grace, that's trying to find that shift, just be honest. Yeah. God can always do more with an honest heart. Because you're going to have that experience for yourself. Right. No one's going to pull you out of that. Right. You know what I mean? But be bold enough, be willing enough, grow those thorns enough to ask because you've been doing the other thing. Yep. You know what I mean? And the other thing may not be working. You know what I mean? You're not fulfilled. Why are you not fulfilled? Because you're going to a certified mechanic, but you're not going to the maker. Right. You got to go back to the source. Right. You know what I mean? Right. And, yeah, so, I enjoy it. I enjoy my life. I enjoy talking about these subjects, you know what I mean? Because people want to hear them. Absolutely. People want truth. Absolutely. An atheist wants truth. Yes. They seeking truth. Yeah. You want truth, you know what I mean? And the truth is there for you, you know what I mean? This is why the Lord said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. You know what I mean? I am the light of the world. Why? Because there are other lights that have come into the world, but I'm the true light. Mm-hmm. He's bringing separation because darkness is also a form of light. It's a lesser light. You know what I mean? But this is the reason why he's saying that. And this is the reason why he's saying, I am the true light, but you have to have that experience for yourself. You know what I mean? Everyone that he met in the Bible, you know what I mean? They didn't believe at first. Right. But your spirit cannot deny the spirit giver. It's impossible. When you can't meet Christ and deny it. You can't. Right. You know what I mean? Right. If you're met the true Christ, it's impossible because the deep calleth unto deep. Deep within you will resonate. Just like when we're acting. Whoo, I felt that. Yeah. You know what I mean? We don't really know. You can't describe what it feels like, but I know I was having a moment. Yeah. We try to call it chemistry. We try to call it synergy. We try to call it energy. We try to find these different things. Quantum physics. They all exist. Yeah. We call it these things because it's a vibration, as Kendrick Lamar would say, happening on a high level. And that's the goal of greatness we're trying to get to. Amen. Amen.
Thank you. It is an honor. I feel like we could just keep going, but I don't want to give him too much on our first time sitting down together. I know I'm going to have you on here again. This has been a gift for me. Absolutely. And you and I are going to be on set again tomorrow shooting my movie.
Yeah. I'm so excited about
James.
that. Holla James.
And as soon as I wrote it, when I looked at that role of the cab driver, you know you were the man I had in mind.
Man, I'm thankful.
And here we are.
Yeah.
Here we are.
And one thing before we close, I want to say, because I'm getting better at this myself, it's okay to receive compliments. This is me talk to myself as if I'm sitting over there. Because sometimes people say, man, you're such a star. You know what I mean?
Right.
You don't receive it.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
You know, it's like, man, when someone says, you know, I'm proud of you.
Yep.
We don't receive it.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
You know, that's God telling you through another individual that he's proud of you, son. My brother. It's the shift.
The shift, baby. The shift. Hey, thank y'all for tuning in. Remember the motto, face it, shift, grow, repeat. Love y'all. Peace.